Hey, what's going on, guys? Minuteman Preparedness. Look, I just got back home, so I'm still sitting in my vehicle, and I ran into a post yesterday on X, and I'd been thinking about putting out a video to you guys about it, and I just decided to go ahead and do it. So, not in my recording area, anything like that, but it was an interesting post in relation to the two videos I've done reference the possible Homeland attacks. And this post was linked to Command 11's post reference the possible Homeland attacks. An individual named Ron Jost on his X account, he had a pretty interesting thought behind that threat assessment. And if you see me looking down, I had to jot down some notes. So he looked it over, and his point of view on this is pretty interesting. I've thought about it myself too, some, but not to this degree. But apparently, the U.S. administration has been in direct and indirect talks with the Taliban Senior Leadership, the TBSL. And apparently this has been going on for several months now. And once you get your way through that and you figure out that all of these different militant factions, groups, I don't know, all these different groups that you have within, the all these different terror cells that kind of base themselves around Islam. But apparently our government has been in talks with kind of their head shed, like they've all apparently, most of them have come together and are kind of falling, I guess, under the TBSL. And if any of those factions attack the United States, our homeland, then it would be, those attacks would more than likely be linked back to one or more of those groups that kind of fall under the TBSL, my understanding of this. And if that occurred, that would end any type of negotiations that the U.S. administration is holding with the TBSL. So if any of them did anything here, what they're trying to do with negotiation wise and whatever they're doing, it would end. And it would be, back overseas, back into war again. I see that point of view. I can see where somebody would believe that, and maybe that is true. Maybe it's not true. I really believe that there will be another attack on the homeland, on our soil, not overseas, right here, somewhere, on our soil. And, I hope it never happens. I really do. But I think it probably will happen. And so the best thing to do is to pray, for the safety of your family and your friends and yourself and the safety of this nation, and that it never happens. But if it does, then you need to be prepared for that. With talks of the IEDs and the VBIDs and, hostage taking and, active shooters and this and that, it would be a good idea for something like that, or just any other time, to have an IFAC in your vehicle, have some training with that, have a go bag in your vehicle where you have some supplies in it. If something pops off and you can't get, through with your vehicle, you get blocked in, you can grab that bag and you can roll. Whereas in one of my last videos, I talked about if you've made that decision to kind of intervene and stick yourself into that situation, make sure you have the tools and the training necessary to help you make it through that situation. But this post from Ron Jost on X is just something else to think about. I was looking at some of the comments, And a lot of, there were some people, they were like, they think this is what's going to happen. Some believe, that it's going to be the actual threat assessment that was going around with the Homeland. So the best thing to do is to always be prepared, because even if it's not a terrorist attack, it could be an active killer situation. You could be involved in a car accident, or you could witness a car accident, and, you could utilize that IFAC, that medical training, that first aid kit. If you break down, you have some food and water in your vehicle, an extra pair of shoes, all of these things that we do preparedness wise. And if you go to the extent like I do and prepare for all these different types of situations, whether it be Mother Nature or a terrorist attack, an active killer situation, a car wreck, whatever, if you prepare for a lot of those situations, you'll be prepared for a lot of the other situations. It's just like insurance. You hope you never have to use it, but when that time comes, if you have it, you're happy you do. So if you invest a little money and a little time into getting yourself prepared for those types of situations, a lot of it will carry over and it'll help you in the long run. But I just wanted to let you know about that post I'd seen on X, given their thoughts behind it and how it would erode the negotiations and draw us back into war. And with the TBSL wanting to try to legitimize itself, that an attack would endanger that. So who knows? It could be a roll of the dice. You may have a few factions that don't care anything about the TBSL, and they're just going to do what they're going to do anyways. So the best thing to do is just be prepared. But with that, y'all have a great weekend. Have a great Easter. Stay safe. And Minuteman out.